Reflektor's a good song. You just can't always necessarily tell why it's so good. One of my favorite descriptions of this song, and it's a description that I've used for other songs where it's applicable. Reflektor is 7.5 minutes, but every single second of the song sounds vital. Like, yeah, 7.5 minutes is long for a song, and quick disclaimer, I'm probably going to be coughing every once in a while as I record this. I'm just coming out of being ill. But yeah, 7.5 minutes is a long song, but you sit down and you listen to it a few times, and you can't really pinpoint something that you could take out if you could avoid it. Like, if you had to edit it down to like a 3 minute radio version, I guess, you could maybe cut some stuff out. But like, really, the song would be much worse off for it, you know? Like, I usually prefer to get longer versions of songs, not necessarily the extended if there's like a special super long version, but for example, usually the album version of a song is longer than the radio version of a song. I always prefer to get the album version because the song is usually better that way. Reflektor, as far as I'm aware, there isn't a radio edit that's like 4 minutes or something like that. But if there was, I would totally recommend never listening to that version and listening to the 7.5 minute one, because 7.5 minute dance track is fantastic. And I mean, David Bowie is on this song. He sings during the, I don't know, bridge question mark. The part "Thought You Were Bringing to the Resurrector" turns out it was just a reflector. David Bowie is singing on that part, and there's a cool story about that. They being Arcade Fire, were recording this song, and David Bowie happened to be in the same studio at basically the same time, and he was hearing them recording it, and he went into the studio they were recording, and he watched them work for a little bit, and then he sort of spoke up, and they're like, "Hey, how you doing?" And he was like, "Look, either finish this recording this song already," because they were having holdups and stuff. Like, either finish this friggin' song, or I'm gonna steal it and record it myself. And Arcade Fire is like, "Oh, instead of that, how about you feature on our version?" And he did. And like, as far as a story of how two groups collaborated, that's the best one. One group threatened to steal the song of the other group, so they compromised by doing the song together. Like, that's awesome. Also, it's really good. David Bowie's voice fits it super well, and it's that weird sort of artsy, dancey sort of music, which is what David Bowie did so well. And I do mean did, because he doesn't do it well anymore. I'm sorry, Bowie, but like, 70s Bowie was so weird but danceable and good, you know, and that's what this sort of stuff in Arcade Fire is as well. Next, We Exist. There's two things in particular that I like about We Exist. Number one is the tone is fantastic. It's a little slower than Reflektor, but it's still kind of a dance song. But it's this sort of melancholy where it's not quite like sad, but at the same time it's not chipper, and it's sort of kind of sad, but we're trying to make the most of it, you know? Like, think like someone in poverty who's really optimistic. Like, on the one hand, they're in poverty. On the other hand, they're trying to make the most out of it. I know that's a weird analogy, but that's the best way that I can describe We Exist. And the other thing I really like about it is lyrically, you know, this is one of the ones that is such a powerful lyrical connection to Haiti, and this is about colonization, where the "We Exist" is from the perspective of Haitians, and it's like where white people came to Haiti, or whoever came to Haiti and colonized or whatever, and they're living there, and they're basically pretending the Haitians don't even exist, and that they're just gonna, this is our home now. And the song is like, no, we exist, you know, you can't make us go away, we're here. I think it's cool. Okay, I'm a loser, but I think it's cool, and that's what matters, damn it, this is my podcast. Song number 3, Flashbulb Eyes. This one has such a weird beginning. like the intro with the whatever the hell sounds are, and then the percussion beat and stuff. This is cool. This is really the first song where like, oh, okay, this is a bit of a weird album. The first short one, this is one of two songs on here that are under 3 minutes, and one of three songs on here that are under 4 minutes. Like, it's a double album, but there's only 13 songs, but most of the songs are at least 5 minutes long. It's pretty awesome, I've got to say. As a fan of long songs, I love that about this album. Anyway, Flashbulb Boys. Going to be honest, I have no fucking clue what this song is about. It's it's also danceable, which is weird. The vast majority of the songs on here are danceable. This one's also danceable. I know it has something to do with, like, lyrically, it has something to do with being in the camera eye and, like, what are they looking at? What are they focusing on? That's about as far as I've got. Again, just that the percussion and the rhythm section basically is so cool. The part is so cool on this song, and very indicative. Here's your big word of the week. Very indicative of the culture that it is stemming from. Of Haitian and Caribbean music culture. Speaking of which, song number 4. Here Comes the Nighttime. This is my second favorite song on the album. Reflektor is my first. Here Comes the Nighttime has so many awesome things going for it that, like, I want to put this song on all the goddamn time because it's so good. Also danceable. The cool thing about this one is that it's both slow danceable and, like, rowdy danceable. Because this is a song, I've talked about this a couple times on here, but this is a song that does changing tempo mid-song right. Okay, the song going from Flashbulb Eyes into Here Comes the Nighttime, there's this sort of, it breaks down into this ambient sound effect sort of thing where you're, like, out in the streets in, like, a market or something almost, and you can hear, like, a couple animals and cars and people, like, shouting and selling their wares and a crowd and that sort of stuff. And then Here Comes the Nighttime starts. And if you've never heard Latin American or Caribbean or like street percussion music from Brazil or Latin America or the Caribbean or something from around there, if you haven't heard street percussion music, you owe it to yourself to hear it. You really owe it to yourself to see it live, but at least Google it, because like it's so energetic and it's so lively, and that's kind of what Here Comes the Nighttime starts with. It's not exactly that, because, like, there's non-percussion instruments in it as far as I can tell, but it's the vast majority of it is like this fast, high energy percussion stuff that's just so energetic, so lively, so explosive, so electric. And then that sort of, for just like 20 seconds, and then if that, and then that peters out into this super simple bass-ish instrument. I'm not honestly sure what it is. It sounds like a wind instrument. And drums. Super minimal, much slower. This is where the slow dance part starts. And it's... And there's like this... a bunch of mallet percussion stuff, so like xylophones and marimbas and stuff in the song. And it slowly builds from there, and then near the end... I want to say maybe a minute and a half before the end, maybe 2 minutes before the end. As that part is coming to a climax, he says, one last time, here comes the night, time. And then they go right back into that faster, energetic part at the beginning, and they have this whole section for, again, like 45 seconds to a minute of that, and it's so awesome. And then they go back down to the slow part for like the final 30 seconds, 45 seconds, and into the end, and it's so good. It's so good musically. It's so great. This is how you do changing time signatures, or sorry, not time signatures, changing tempos correctly. I said, um, like how I said back a few episodes ago in my one on the heavy on the Glorious Dead. I said how one of the songs in there, the problem with it was that they changed tempo too many times. They kept jumping back and forth between them. And I said, Klaxons can do it well because the tempos are so similar. Like they weren't that far off from each other. It's medium fast and fast fast. Whereas the example of the heavy, how they went from slow to really, really fast, so like it didn't work jumping back and forth. This does it well because they only change tempo 3 times. They start fast for a short time, and then they're slow. And they're slow for a good long while, which is exactly what I said the heavy should have done. And then as they come to a climax, they hit the fast part, and they're in the fast part for a decent length of time, which is what I said the heavy should do. And then about 30 seconds or so before it ends, they go back to the slow part to finish off the song, which isn't what I said the heavy could do, but the heavy could do that right, Like, that's how you fucking do it. That's how you do it right. And not just come across like an asshole, because, like, for example, what is it? We Are Young by Fun, that song that came out 4 or 5 years ago. Firstly, I don't like the song. I like the melody and the chorus, but that's about it. The rest of it's eh. They're such fucking full of themselves, artsy, hipster assholes for changing the goddamn tempo right at the beginning of the song. How it starts with this other thing, and which is actually sounds interesting. Like they should have made a song out of that, and then tempo changes, and the whole rest of the song is going to be like this. Like, fucking, how pretentious do you have to be? This here comes the nighttime. That's how you do it right, and not sound pretentious, and not sound irritating. Man, I love this song. I could go on for fucking hours about this song. Next. Wow, I'm already 15 minutes in. Holy shit. Next. Normal Person. Oh, right. Sorry. Here Comes the Nighttime. I want to mention the lyrics. Here Comes the Nighttime. The idea of Here Comes the Nighttime is when missionaries, like European missionaries, I assume from Europe, were coming to Haiti and the Caribbean and all of that area and trying to convert the natives to Christianity. It's something that happened all the goddamn time for hundreds of years. And Here Comes the Nighttime is about the missionaries coming and preaching Christianity and stuff like that. And then the dude singing is like, that sounds cool, but he points out the problems with the missionaries' arguments. Like, I'm kind of paraphrasing, but the line's like, no, sorry, I'm not paraphrasing. I love the line, they say heaven's a place, yeah, heaven's a place, and they know where it is. They know where it is, but it's behind the gates, they won't let us in. And then later when he's like, if there's no music in heaven, then what's it for? Like, how the missionaries are coming and they're like, here's all this good stuff about Christianity. If you're a Christian, you'll get into heaven and everything will be amazing. Also, you have to be a Christian or you won't get in. But you can't just be a good person. You have to follow us. It's real though. Trust us. Also, all of your culture doesn't belong there. It's only our culture. So basically, while you're at it, could you be white? You know what I mean? Like that sort of like when you think your ideas are so right that you don't understand how anyone else's ideas could be right, that's the sort of mindset that the missionaries were kind of coming from, and that's what the song is about. It's awesome. Now that I've spent almost 15 minutes on one song, next, Normal Person. Another cool one lyrically. Normal Person is the first time that they do a regular rock song on this album. And it's pretty cool. Like it's got a neat guitar riff in it. It's not super amazing and stellar rock song, but it's a very good rock song. This is another cool one lyrically. Normal Person is about the same sort of thing where it's a disconnect between, although much later, a disconnect between Haitians and people who've come to Haiti to live on Haiti, where, excuse me, where honestly in my mind I want to say white people because the white people, to them, they're normal and they're like, yeah, we're normal people, and you Haitians are weird, and your culture is weird, and your food is weird, and you're all weird, and you're not normal like us. We're normal people. And the song is from the perspective of a Haitian, where they're like, what is a normal person? Am I a normal person? I mean, I think I could be a normal person. I don't know. Are you a normal person? What even is a normal person? And then I like the line that he repeats a lot in the song. Have you ever even, what is it? Have you ever really ever seen a normal person? I think is what the line is. Like, have you ever actually seen a normal person? No, everyone's got quirks. Everyone's kind of weird, right? Like, what is a normal person? It's, I don't know. It's cool. And again, solid rock tune. Next, You Already Know, another cool rock song. Excuse me. This one is faster. Like it's at that sort of tempo where you can't, unless you're like really headbanging, you can't bob your head to the time of the song. You have to do the two and the four. So whenever they hit the snare, so instead of da 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 da, you do every other one. So it's ba 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 ba, and it's sort of like sway your head back and forth sort of music. Um, I love the sort of framing they put on this one, where it's this announcer guy with some sort of UK accent, saying like, "Ladies and gentlemen, Arcade Fire," and then there's like some applause, and the song starts, and then at the end, they finish the song, and he's like, "Arcade Fire, ladies and gentlemen, weren't they amazing?" or whatever. As for the song, I don't know. I like that sort of stuff. I like the extra production stuff that people put on songs. Lyrically, this one's kind of interesting. From what I can tell, it's sort of pessimistic, and that's exactly as much as I know about this song. Like, from what I can tell, it's like this idea of like, why is everything this bad? Why does stuff keep going wrong for me? And the song's like, why? It's your fault. And not only is it your problem, you're the one who put yourself in this situation. That sort of thing. Next, final song of disc 1. We're only 7 songs in. Joan of Arc. As in the legendary French girl, Joan of Arc. And this one it's a bit literal. Like he says, "You're my Joan of Arc," but it's a metaphor. The idea is this regular person, this regular, I don't want to say peasant because peasants don't exist anymore, but this regular, like, run of the mill, lower middle class dude or girl or whatever, sort of being the one to rally the popular whatever opinion or whatever, and they're gonna rally the people, and we're gonna fight back against our oppressors or whatever. I imagine in context the idea is Haitian independence or something like that. They do a little bit of a weird thing with this one, where this one starts off at a, like, I guess typical punk tempo, like 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 sort of thing, and they do like the first half of a verse like that, and then the first time he says, "You're my Joan of Arc," Joan of Arc, and then it goes into the tempo that the entire rest of the song is going to be, and then they never revisit that first tempo, which I think would be kind of cool if they revisited the first tempo, but whatever. And I will say it's just jarring. Like, I think I understand their intent was that, like, they're riling people up, they're trying to gather a mob, and that faster tempo is a riled up sort of punk tempo. I think that's what they were going for, but the end result really just ended up being like, okay, yeah, it's gonna be, oh, oh, it's slower now. Okay, I guess we're slower now. Yay, it was. It's not. It's not done as smoothly or as effectively as Here Comes the Nighttime. It's this is a strange tempo change. Other than that, though, really solid track. I like the French vocals on this one. The I guess I should explain. Arcade Fire are based in Montreal, Canada. And as I'm sure most of you know, Montreal and the rest of Quebec is a lot more French than the rest of Canada. Most of Canada is primarily English with some French, and then a bit below that, like a mixture of a bunch of other languages. A couple places in Canada are either sort of 50-50 French and English, or primarily French, with English sort of being the secondary. Quebec is either 50-50 or more French, depending on where you go. Montreal is pretty good at 50-50. But like Quebec City is more French, for example. And then New Brunswick has a good mixture of French and English in it as well. Most of the rest of the country, English, dude. Anyways, so point is, band is from Montreal. So, in the very least, the girl speaks French. I wouldn't be surprised if the main singer, the dude, speaks French. I wouldn't be surprised if some of the other members of the band speak French. But, like, her name is Renee, spelt in a French way with, like, two E's with an accent on one of them, Like, I wouldn't be surprised if French is, like, her first language. So she has some French lines in Reflektor, and she has a French part in Joan of Arc. And she has a really nice voice. She has a really, really nice voice. And her French parts are always really cool. And it's always kind of fun because I've taken a bunch of French. So I have a decent understanding of the language. So it's kind of cool how lyrically they develop. It's not like, we're just going to throw French in and repeat what we've already said. Like, part of the story is in the French part, especially in Joan of Arc. To a lesser degree in Reflektor, she just says the same thing twice in Reflektor, which is about his area filled with light and how we're dealing with the living and the dead and stuff like that. But in Joan of Arc, like, she's actually adding on to the story. Like, it's like she is speaking as this Joan of Arc. It's cool. I'm already over 25 minutes in. Oh my god. And I want to take a very quick break before I move on to the second half. This is the first half of the album, and it's a double album. So this was half an hour, a little over half an hour of music. So I want to take a little quick break just to talk about the first half as a whole, because the first half and the second half are pretty different. The first half is the half that I personally prefer, and the primary reason for that is because, as I'm sure you know if you listen to my podcast, I'm not a fan of ballads. And basically the entire second half is ballads. Some of them are nicer than others. Awful Sound isn't really a ballad. But most of the songs, of the 6 songs there, I think at least 4 of them are ballads. And the other 2, one of them is only a little faster than a ballad, and then one of them is kind of debatable. Anyways, first half is energetic. It's the more energetic half, and it's the more rock half, absolutely. Again, Normal Person's a straight up rock song. You already know it's a straight up rock song. Joan of Arc is a straight up rock song. Reflektor is sort of mostly rock, I guess. Kind of. We Exist is sort of on the border between them. But then Flashbulb Eyes and Here Comes the Nighttime aren't. they're kind of rock, I guess, in a loose sense, but they're not like guitar rock, is I guess what I'm trying to get at. It's fantastic though. It's the first half is awesome. The first half has a great energy, and the first half has some of the cooler, in my opinion, lyrical themes. Like I'm not legitimately sure what a lot of the second half is even about. Anyways, I just wanted to have a few quick points for the first half. So let's get on with it and go to the second half. Song number one here, or song number eight technically. Here comes the nighttime. Do not nearly as good as Here Comes the Nighttime 1. Not that that's surprising. Here Comes the Nighttime set the bar very, very high. But Here Comes the Nighttime 2 is cool at sort of. It's kind of like, how in like a musical, either in theater or in movies, how they have like what is it, reprise, however you pronounce it, how like they'll have the main theme of some song come back, but it's been changed a bit. That's basically what Here Comes the Nighttime 2 is. It's not even 3 minutes long, and it brings back some of the themes of the original Here Comes the Nighttime. What I like about it is it does two things very well. It sets up the second half of the album, like thematically and mood and everything like that, but then also it builds on the other side of Here Comes the Nighttime. Like Here Comes the Nighttime, because it's a generally more upbeat, a generally more I don't know, happy song. That's the only word I can think of. Um, you sort of miss a little bit of the sad truth of what they're talking about. Here Comes the Nighttime 2 is that sad truth where it's like all we have left is the nighttime. The idea of Here Comes the Nighttime is the nighttime is when all the street music comes out and when all the Haitian culture comes out, and it's when they can express themselves and the missionaries can't do shit about it. And Here Comes the Nighttime 2 is really fantastic at showing like, yeah, the first one's like, yeah, here's the nighttime and we're gonna party again. But then the second, Here Comes the Nighttime 2 is more like, we can't just keep doing this. Like, there's legitimately a problem here. All right, next, Awful Sound, and then in brackets, O Eurydice. Why O Eurydice? Well, the next song, It's Never Over, has in brackets O Orpheus. And the idea of Eurydice and Orpheus is it's an ancient Greek legend. Dude, Orpheus, super skilled harp player, had a woman named Eurydice, who was his main squeeze. And Eurydice dies one day from something, I don't remember. Orpheus goes to the underworld, plays his pretty harp, gets past Cerberus, plays his pretty harp again, convinces Hades to bring Eurydice back out of the underworld with him. Hades says, sure, but when you're climbing the literal stairway out of the underworld, you can't look at her. You can't look at her at all until you get back up to the surface. She can hold your hand or whatever, so you know she's there, but you can't look at her. And Orpheus got really, really close to getting out of the underworld, but then he couldn't help it. He loved his main squeeze too much. Turns around and sees Eurydice right before her soul is like wisped away and trapped in the underworld forever. Orpheus is super sad, goes back up onto the surface, plays a sad song. I think it's killed and eaten by cannibals or something. Anyway, point is, like, it's he loved her so much that he literally went to the end of the earth and then some to get her back. So, what does that have to do with the songs? Well, Awful Sound and It's Never Over are thematically kind of connected. Awful Sound's about, from as far as I can tell, it's about two people that grew up together. One of them fell in love with the other one. The person two didn't reciprocate person one's feelings. And during all of this, some awful sound comes about. Like an awful sound shows up while they were growing up and how they have to start running away from it. They want to escape this awful sound. As near as I can tell, what they're talking about is modernization. Like modern civilization. Like, as far as I can tell, the awful sound is like cars. And so my theory is the people growing up, whatnot, and then they grew up before cars and modern construction and all that kind of stuff came to Haiti, because again, it's the whole album's about Haiti. And during their lifetime, modern civilization came to Haiti, and that's what the awful sound is. And it's connected to It's Never Over because at the end of by the end, I guess, of Awful Sound, the singer's like, and I guess everything's gonna be terrible now. But then It's Never Over is how it's like, don't throw in the towel unless you have no choice, wait until it's over, don't give up, that sort of thing. But it's a kind of somber don't give up, which is what Orpheus in Eurydice is about. Eurydice died, but then Orpheus didn't give up. He didn't. He was determined to get her back. I guess that's as far as I can tell. Also, they say Eurydice in the lyrics of Awful Sound, and they say Orpheus in the lyrics of It's Never Over. So there's that. Awful Sound has a really cool drum and percussion beat that goes on through most of it, and I love how and in addition to really really rad drum and percussion beat during the song, whenever they go to, I guess, the chorus, everything cuts out except for this super straightforward but still cool drum fill. Ba boom boom boom. Like as a drummer, I'm 100% biased, but it's so awesome. Anyway, as far as It's Never Over, I don't know. I prefer Awful Sound. It's Never Over is one of the ones that I was saying it's not quite a ballad. I don't know, it's cool. I gotta say, the ending of this album sort of blends together for me. Like, It's Never Over is sort of somber, I guess, and then the next song, Porno, which doesn't mean in that way. They mean being exploitive, but they don't literally mean like dick in vag or something like that. Anyways, Porno is sort of this kind of similar sort of feel to it with It's Never Over. The cool thing with Porno, though, is that it's got this super rad, like, not quite, but kind of retro vibe to it, like an 80s sort of feel with the synth sound and stuff. And again, Porno is about being exploited and about having stuff that you would like to do because you like doing it, people like forcing you to do it for their own enjoyment and stuff like that. That's why it's called Porno. It's cool. It's another. It's faster than a ballad, but I don't know. It's again, they're kind of weird near the end of this. Then we have Afterlife. Afterlife is actually up tempo, shockingly for the name of the song. It's actually up tempo, and that's exactly as much as I have to say about it. It's cool. It's especially since we just had 4 sad woe is me songs in a row. Here Comes the Nighttime 2, Awful Sound, It's Never Over is, I guess, kind of optimistic, and then Porno. It's a nice thing that Afterlife is a nice, I guess, kind of chipper tune, and I think Afterlife is kind of taking It's Never Over one further, and it's thematically where it's like, even if nothing else, the next life is going to be great. You can always count on it, that sort of thing. And then finally, supersymmetry. I have no fucking clue what they mean by supersymmetry. I don't know what that means. How can you be more than regular symmetrical? What is special symmetry? We're not just symmetrical, we're mega symmetrical. Our powers combined. I don't know. I will say supersymmetry it's a decent ending song. It's a little boring. It's a ballad that I find kind of boring. There's not really a lot going on in supersymmetry. Which I guess is something that I forgot to mention at the beginning. Reflektor, fantastic way to open the album. They do a nice sort of thing at the beginning so it doesn't just start immediately. Like there's sound and stuff. Cool, like little soundscape for a few seconds there. And supersymmetry, honestly, is a decent way to end the album. Personally, I think Awful Sound would be a better final song for this album. I think Awful Sound would have been a better way of ending it. I know why it isn't, because Awful Sound has to be followed up by It's Never Over from a thematic standpoint. Like, they couldn't do It's Never Over and then Awful Sound. It has to be Awful Sound and then It's Never Over. So their options would be either don't do It's Never Over or have Awful Sound be song number 9, which is what they did. That being said, I don't think Supersymmetry does a bad job. I think it's okay. It's just Reflektor is a really good starting song, not up to the same sort of quality as Can't Play Dead, but close, very close. I'd say Reflektor is on par with What Went Down as a starting song, where What Went Down, minor tweaks, it would be like the best starting song. Again, Reflektor, maybe like a minor change, and it would be like the best starting song. It's very, very good. And then Supersymmetry is okay, but not fantastic. So I already talked about the first half. Second half, again, it's got this weird sort of sad feeling to it, more so than the first half. The album as a whole has a little bit of a sad feeling to it, but the second half especially. The second half, with, I guess, exception of Awful Sound, if you don't pay attention to the lyrics, and then Afterlife is just a downer. Like, it's depressing almost. Which really is fitting, because the history of Haiti is depressing. You know, the history of a lot of countries that were colonized is depressing. So, I mean, it's not like it's misplaced, you know? Excuse me. This is already 40 fucking minutes in. So, not a lot that I want to talk about this album as a whole, honestly. Like, most of it, I already went over how it's about Haiti and stuff. So I guess I'm just gonna move on to my Music Geek. Music Geek. I should come up with a jingle or something for my Music Geeks. Like, I do them all the time. I do one every episode, but it's just like, okay, now I'm gonna do it, and then I do it, you know? I should come up with a jingle or something. You know what? Next week, I promise I'll have a Music Geek jingle that'll announce that I'm going into my Music Geek. It'll be terrible. It'll be god-awful. Almost as bad as the jingle that starts the podcast. But I'll do it, damn it. Yeah. Oops. Okay, so Music Geek this week has to do with... I don't want to say influences, because I've said that before, but I mean influences in a different way, and it has to do with, you know, the fact that the album was about Haiti. I've talked about influences on the way back in episode 2, it was, when I was doing Cage the Elephant, Melophobia, and how I was talking about how they caged themselves for, like, they kept themselves from any musical influences and stuff like that, so that they could try to have what I guess the most genuine Cage the Elephant album they could. I guess that was what they were going for. And it kind of worked, kind of didn't. Like, it was very different from their previous stuff, but it just ended up sounding like other bands, but it was a different set of other bands that they sounded like, Arcade Fire being one of them. This time I'm talking influences like culturally, and it's something that I think is rad. It's something that I think is super rad. You know, like, if someone gets inspired by some culture or some event or something to write a song, that's already cool as fuck, okay? Like, it's happened to me a few times. I've written a couple of songs about stuff that's happened during my life, and it's rad as hell. It's some of my best writing, too. And a lot of the time, it ends up being some of the best writing from people. Like, what are the universally considered best U2 songs? Songs that are about stuff that happened, you know? In the Name of Love is one of the best U2 songs. New Year's Day is one of the best U2 songs. There's one or two other ones that I can't think of off the top of my head. But, like, the best U2 songs are the ones that they wrote about stuff that has happened, you know? So I feel like the cultural influence in Reflektor is so good. Like, both thematically, you know, the lyrics are super fucking cool, you know? And yes, I'm a little biased because I'm a history buff. So the stuff like Here Comes the Nighttime, that's history stuff, like old history stuff, I'm really into. But the lyrics thematically and how it's not like every song is I'm a Haitian and we had an earthquake and life sucks. You know how they have different aspects of life on Haiti and stuff like that being represented in all the songs, and then the mood being reflective of the culture and the people and the history of Haiti, and then the sounds, especially with stuff like Awful Sound, Here Comes the Nighttime, Reflektor, like how they have even like musical influences from Haitian musical culture in this album. Like that's all so cool. Another album that I want to talk about on here at some point, maybe soon, maybe not. I don't want to say soon because I don't want to just sort of bind myself to it. But one that I want to do at some point, somewhat soon, I'll probably do it by the end of the year, is A Brazilian Love Affair by George Duke. It's an album that he wrote and recorded while he was spending a bunch of time in Brazil, obviously. Has a bunch of Brazilian artists on it. And George Duke is like a uh, jazz, funk, and soul fusion sort of artist. Kind of jazz, kind of funk, kind of soul, that sort of stuff. Also known as fusion. And A Brazilian Love Affair, I personally really like because it has Brazilian influences and Brazilian sounds and stuff in it. Like it has mambo and samba beats and stuff in it. It has a whole bunch of Brazilian artists performing on it. Like it not only is it inspired by something, it is that something. Like it's really wholeheartedly incorporating what it was, the culture that it was inspired by. And I feel like Reflektor is also a really good way of doing that in a totally different genre. That's rock being influenced by Haiti, whereas A Brazilian Love Affair was fusion being influenced by, excuse me, by by Brazil. But I don't know, that kind of stuff is just rad. I think that stuff's cool. I really do. Anyway, that is the end of another very long episode of Cream Soda Revolutions. You guys have been amazing. I have been New Yorker. And as always, be fucking rad to each other. Just be as hip as you can be. Thank you once again for tuning in to my little podcast. I actually have some cool things that I may be changing about the format of the podcast. Firstly, you'll notice that it's not Friday right now, it's Saturday. What? The way my schedule works right now, either I punish myself on Thursday and get it up on Thursday night, and by on Thursday night, I mean like at 9 o'clock, or I wait and I do it on Saturday. So I decided I'm going to wait and do them on Saturday. So episodes are going to be coming up on Saturday. That's just the way my schedule is working with classes right now, at least until the end of the term. So stuff will change in December probably, because I'll have all the damn time in the world on Christmas break, and we'll see how my schedule is in the new year. But for now, it's going to be stuff are going to be going up on Saturdays. Sorry for the inconvenience, I guess. Whatever. I mean, I haven't exactly been super strict with my schedule to begin with. And then one more thing that's going to change is there's some legal stuff going on right now as far as fair use and claims and stuff. And it may affect how YouTube handles copyright issues and copyright claims and fair use and stuff like that. And I'll let you know if stuff is going to change here. If not, if some, when I have an answer one way or the other, whether or not stuff's going to change, I'll let you guys know. Even if it isn't, then I'll explain what I was going to do. But just know that stuff may be changing on here a little bit, and it has to do with copyright stuff. Anyway, be excellent to one another, and good night.